Yo, what's up? This is Julian, aka Delaluz, and today I want to talk about this shelf that I built. It's a project I worked on with my uncle. I have actually not worked with wood in a long time, so it was a really interesting project that was really dear to my heart, and I want to talk about how I did it and, more importantly, what I learned while doing it. First of all, as always, I want to invite you to work on some creative project while you listen to me. The reason I invite you to do that is because oftentimes starting is the hardest thing for us, and if you can just have this go on in the background, it might be able to inspire you to find new ideas, make new decisions. Anyway, thanks for being here, and let's start. So, as you might know, I just moved into this flat at the start of the year, and I wanted something for this wall behind me because it was very empty and I wanted a space to put my books. So what I did was I figured I wanted a bookshelf and I wanted to build it myself. So I was looking for some wood that was laying around on our property, and I found wood from an old oak tree that used to be on this property and um, had to be felled, unfortunately, because it got too big and too old. So to remember the oak tree, I started to work on this project. So it had a sentimental component to it as well, which I found very helpful to actually pull through with the project and not abandon it halfway. Now, I won't bore you too much with the woodworking details since this channel is more about creative strategies than woodworking. But the way we did it was that we went into the workshop, we picked out the wood, we started drawing up plans of how I wanted it to look, how I wanted it to be in the final product. And then we kind of figured out how to use the materials that we had available to make that happen. This was the first thing that, upon reflection, I kind of realized was very interesting, very helpful, very fun, is the fact that we had a limited amount of materials to work with. So we had these kind of blocks of wood and there was a limited amount. So we were limited in how we constructed the bookshelf. We were limited in how big it was going to be. We were limited by the properties of the wood because some of the blocks were not fully there. There was bark with the woods. There was woodworms in some parts of it that we couldn't use. So we had to really figure out which piece went where to make the project happen. And I feel like in a lot of our creative projects, what happens is we have too many possibilities. We have unlimited ways we can have things go. We can, in music, write an unlimited amount of melodies, an unlimited amount of variations. We have an infinite amount of instruments these days. Same thing when you're drawing something, you have all the colors, especially when you're drawing digitally. You can go back and forth all the time, reversing things, redoing things. And while that is a nice thing to have and a real gift, it can get us into this kind of mind space where we are really lost and confused as to what to use and where to start. So in this case, we had the material that was kind of limiting us. But of course, when we work on creative projects, we can limit ourselves. We can set creative limitations. For example, we can pick these 3 main colors we're going to use and 6 secondary colors. Or we can use for writing a certain kind of story that we're going to follow. Is it a short story? Is it an epic? Is it a romance? Is it a I'm missing the word, a crime story? I'm sorry. We're using these limitations to reduce the amount of decisions we have to make along the way. And once again, with the wood, it was kind of clear what stages we had to go through. We had to get the wood, we had to cut it, we had to go through all the stages to get to the wooden boards, and then further process those to get the shape we wanted, sand it, and so on and so on. Unfortunately, when we are working on a lot of creative projects, we don't really have those limitations. For example, we could start with a rough sketch, might be for music, for a story, for a film, and then we immediately start filling in the details. But what we neglect is that there's phases that happen in between. First of all, we have the rough sketch, then we need to turn that into a finer sketch, and then we can slowly start filling in the details because we have the basic construction already in the background. That will help us again to limit the amounts of decisions we have to make. So when you start your next project, try to create some awareness of how you go about doing that project. On the one hand, you can just work the way you always do and try to kind of figure out what order you usually follow when creating. Or you can already analyze past projects and kind of figure out your order, figure out what phases there are to go through, and start working bit by bit. Start working with a sketch, maybe picking colors, picking shapes, picking a motive, picking instruments, before you even start writing single scenes or melodies or sketching details. I think that's about it for this one. I could go on, but I think you get the gist. Try it out. Maybe you are trying it out right now. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Leave a comment and I'll catch you in the next one.